All right, everyone, time to take a look at the second episode of the day, which is Brothers in Arms. The episode begins with a gathering of cops collected by Dinah. We discover the gathering comprises of those that Dinah has by and by checked and affirmed not to be on Ricardo Diaz's finance. Dinah requested the gathering follow Anatoly and a couple of different individuals from the Bratva. They track down Anatoly, and, with the assistance of Oliver and Diggle, they bring down the individuals from the Bratva. Dinah and Oliver come back to City Hall, and Dinah gives Oliver some ideal opportunity to cross-examine Anatoly. Oliver approaches Anatoly about the warped cops, to which Anatoly uncovers that a lot more city representatives than just cops are in Diaz's finance. Arrow busts in the scene. Arrow busts in space to reveal him the head prosecutor and start being charged against Anatoly and his men. At Arrow HQ, Diggle takes a step, persuading Oliver to let him wear the green hood once more, and when Oliver won't, Diggle stomps off. Diaz approaches one of the cops that was exploring Diaz's filthy cops. Diaz areas the gray cop long enough for Anatoly to sneak up behind him and shoot him. Group Air finds out about the homicide of Officer Hurst, and they right acknowledge that Anatoly and Diaz are behind it. Diggle goes to talk with Lila at Argus HQ. She has her intel the organization has in Diaz and his Vertigo exchange. Oliver calls Captain Hill and District Attorney Armand into his office and causes them to concede they're working for Diaz. The two of them uncover they have conditions throughout their life that require the cash from Diaz. Oliver fires them two right away. Oliver has returned home to talk with Black Siren, and discovers she's had yet messaging Ricardo Diaz. Oliver plunks out to chat with Diggle about the Green Hood. Diggle appears to be okay with Oliver's choice, and tells his companion that he acknowledges the trustworthiness. Felicity tells the pair she has an area of one of Diaz's essential Vertigo sellers. They suit up go to the area to scrutinize the vendor. As he's prepared to give everything away, the seller is shot and executed by his sweetheart, who shouts that she's more faithful to Diaz than she is her beau. Oliver and Diggle come back to Arrow HQ, and they contend about how each other took care of the circumstance of the Vertigo vendor's living arrangement. Diggle hollers at Oliver, grumbling that his companion doesn't confide in his choices. And Oliver finds an entryway at the land's living arrangement partially open, and she's amazed by Ricardo Diaz, who's brought her supper. Diggle comes back to talk with Lila about his contention with Oliver. In the wake of talking to Lila, Diggle goes to converse with Oliver. He discloses to Oliver that his dissatisfactions were never with the Green Hood, or maybe his dissatisfactions laid with the individual who wore it, Oliver. Diggle admits that putting the group under reconnaissance was a mix-up, and Oliver gets agitated as he might suspect Diggle helped him settle on that choice. The contention races until Oliver raises Diggle executing his own sibling, after which Diggle punches Oliver, and the two begin battling. The two keep battling until Felicity strolls in and separates them. Felicity tells the two that she's revealed the area of Diaz's new Vertigo activity. Diggle apologizes to Oliver, and the two set up to go track down the activity. Curtis and Dinah are working with a couple of the Grey Cops on attempting to remove the degenerate cops when they're drawn nearer by all sides nearer by all sides by the cops from Diaz's finance. One of them shoots Curtis, thumping him to the ground. Oliver and Diggle show up at the Vertigo Star and begin taking out Diaz's associates. They open the office with explosives, and upon their takeover of the structure, they level it with a blast. Curtis awakens and works with Dinah to get the gathering emptied from the gunfight at the Helix building. Oliver and Diggle come back to Air HQ, where the last apologizes again for what he said to Oliver. He says we're proceeding to concede he's, despite everything directly in the idea that Oliver's administration abilities fail to impress anyone. Diggle offers Oliver that he's finished being a piece of his group. Curtis and Dinah are proceeding to deal with Renee's little girl. They're cleaning Renee's condo when Nick, the official Curtis is dating, thumps on the entryway. He goes to Dinah that Captain Hill has terminated them too, and whatever cop that was on Diaz's finance. Diggle's addressing Lila, who extends him an employment opportunity at Argus. Oliver turns on the TV to find that Armand is attempting to seek after obstacle of equity charges against the civic chairman. Okay then. So let's take a look at some trivia surrounding this episode. The town refers to the fractured relationship between Oliver and Diggle. This episode marks the first to not credit Will Holland in the main cast bill Such a departure in the previous episode, the Thanatos Guild. The fight between Oliver and Diggle is one of David Ramsey's favorite scenes. In addition, the scene was originally going to appear in Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 4, when Kate Kane revisits a past event in the Speed Force, but was said inserted to Oliver and Ray Palmer's conversation and suicidal tendencies. And now finally, let's take a look at a goof. Former police captain Kimberly Hill fired all the cops that were not on Diaz's payroll. However, she had been turned by the mayor, effective immediately, and therefore had no authority to dismiss any members of the force. Also, having removed all members of the force who were not corrupt, Hill essentially identified those who were. Whoops. So far, I think this episode is pretty interesting, and yeah, I don't like it when Diggle and Oliver fight. So yeah. So overall, I give Brothers in Arms 4 arrowheads out of 5. When we tune in as we take the final episode of the day, Fundamentals. So until then, in the words of Oliver Queen, you have failed this city.